Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 66th monthly Zoom presentation. We can all be very proud of the amazing library of recordings that we are building. It's truly a testament to the diversity of the roadside. I'm Brian Gallagher, the president of the Society for Commercial Archaeology, and proud to be your host for tonight's presentation. Welcome to all our guests and any new people we have with us this afternoon and evening. We're happy you took the time to watch an SCA presentation, and I hope you enjoy the show. And for anybody watching the recording of this episode of the SCA's monthly presentations who is not a member of the SCA, we earnestly ask you to consider joining. Funding for the various activities of the SCA comes almost exclusively from our membership. Just visit our website at www.sca-roadside.org and follow the links. Now I have the pleasure of introducing this month's presenter. Tonight we will hear the story of how, in the summer of 2022, a group of sign painters joined together to save a ghost sign in the Ravenswood neighborhood of Chicago before the building was demolished. Under the siding, the 100-year-old building revealed two signs in almost perfect condition, one being a 1930s Ward's Bread sign painted by Briggs Sign Company. This ghost sign preservation effort led to the rediscovery of a large collection of original sign sketches by the Beverly Sign Company, the company that Jack Briggs of Briggs Sign Company would go on to start after painting that exact bread sign several years ago. Join Andrew and Kelsey McClellan, the Chicago sign painters who operate Heart and Bone Signs, as they discuss their sign preservation efforts as well as their journey into self-publishing their book, The Golden Era of Sign Design. So, Andrew and Kelsey, would like to share your screen with us? We'd love to see your presentation.
Great. Okay, hopefully that looks like that worked.
Yeah, that looks great. That looks wonderful.
Okay, good. So thank you, Brian, for that introduction. And we just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's here. Thank you for joining us. We're really excited to participate and talk to you all about our self-published book, The Golden Era of Sign Design. So we'll go into detail about how this book came about and the process of making it. We are fairly new to the organization of SCA, as well as new to self-publishing and sign preservation. But in the short time since being introduced to all of these wonderful things, we've met so many wonderful people and so many inspiring people. This seems to be such a wonderful group and a great community. So we're really excited to join you all tonight, and hopefully you can all learn a little bit from our experience, and we look forward to meeting you all virtually as well. So we'll start out by introducing ourselves. My name is Kelsey, and this is my husband and business partner, Andrew. We are full-time sign painters and run Heart and Bone Signs based in Chicago. We specialize in hand-painted and gold leaf signs, and we have had the opportunity to travel the country painting signs for all types of businesses, large and small alike. We are very passionate about our craft and are thankful to be part of an incredible worldwide community of sign painters. For us, this craft is not dead. It is very much alive, and we advocate for the use of traditional sign making whenever and wherever we can. A little bit about our work. Our journey into sign painting began after moving to Chicago from Denver and noticing all of the hand-painted and gold leaf signs. We had actually painted signs somewhat ignorantly in Denver, although we had no real awareness of the trade. There were many very impressive neon signs in Denver, which I'm sure many people in this group know about along Colfax. But hand-painted signs, and especially gold leaf signs, had all but disappeared by the early 2000s in Denver. So after moving to Chicago, we were enamored with the ghost signs and the gold leaf signs that we saw across town. I actually spotted a small signature underneath one of the gold leaf signs in Printers Row, and I decided to reach out to them. That sign painter, Robert Fries, had been gilding signs in Chicago for the past 40 years, and it happened to be perfect timing for him to share his knowledge and experience with us, as well as for us. We were at a crossroads trying to figure out what to do with our life at that point. He was growing concerned that there would be no interest in learning the trade and carrying on the tradition of Chicago-style gold leaf signs. So he was ready to teach, and we were ready to learn. The timing was perfect, and we're very lucky that that worked out. He had kept the long tradition of gold leaf signs alive in Chicago for the past 40 years, and we now carry on that legacy dating back to the late 1800s. Our introduction into publishing and preservation similarly was a random and odd experience. So in the summer of 2022, when a building that was slated for demolition in the Ravenswood neighborhood of Chicago had its siding removed in the middle of the night because the siding was covered in asbestos, and they didn't want to have the city involved. So in the middle of the night, they took all the siding down. And what happened was these amazing ghost signs were revealed. One is this shell sign that you can see on the slide. And we dated this to about 1927 because they only ran this specific ad campaign for only a couple years at that specific time. We learned about these signs when a friend sent a message to us, and we looked at the pictures and immediately hopped in our truck and drove over. As soon as we saw them with our own eyes, we realized they were special and needed to be saved. Seeing these remarkably well-preserved signs in the light after decades of being covered was an intense and very visceral experience. We overheard plenty of onlookers saying, "It's such a shame that we can't save these signs. They belong in a museum." And to us, saving them just seemed like a no-brainer. However, we had no idea what we were doing. We had no experience doing this. No experience saving signs, let alone saving a 30-foot tall sign on the side of a 100-year-old building.
So this is the sign.
Sorry, Andrew, just before you go on, we're experiencing everything was great and you're coming through really good, but we're seeing a bunch of the participants on the screen. Are you seeing that as well besides yourselves?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that's gone away now. Great. Okay, wonderful. All right, sorry, carry on.
Great. This was the, oh, here we go. Oh. Okay. This was the sign that was on the other side of the building from the shell sign seen in the last slide. It is a Ward's Bread advertisement from the early 1930s. Ward's later turned into Wonder Bread, and this neighborhood was known as the baking district for the city. As you can see, they were both in excellent condition, especially for their age. The colors were bright, and looking at them felt like traveling back in time, and naturally, the entire community was enthralled with this discovery. As we mentioned, we had never tried to save ghost signs like this before. Typically, it's not even possible to save a ghost sign because they're almost always painted onto brick. In this case, they were savable due to being painted onto wood siding. The first thing we did was reach out to the developer of the property, whom we just happened to have previously painted some signs for. We sent an email, and to be totally honest, we did not really have the faith that they were going to allow us to go through with cutting these off of the building for plenty of reasons. One of which, among many, was insurance issues. To our amazement, within 5 minutes, they responded and gave us the green light to save the signs. The major caveat was that we only had 30 days to take them down. So we got straight to work. We put together a GoFundMe to cover the cost of the scaffolding, and we met our goal within 1 week. This is our crew here on the right dismantling the sign. Todd Swarmstead from the American Sign Museum came to assist us in carefully removing the signs. During the time of this discovery, the American Sign Museum was in the midst of its expansion, and Todd happened to have one remaining space in his new section of the museum's Main Street that he needed a sign for. Miraculously, the Ward sign was almost the exact size of the space that he had remaining, and he worked with us to take it down and reinstall it in the museum, where it is now on permanent display. Deinstalling the signs was challenging. As you can see here, we were completely covered in years of dust. We used a reciprocating saw to cut the panels one by one off the building and then marked each one in sequence and stored them. We still have the small gas sign and the large shell sign in storage. The building had an interesting history. The original owner ran a gas station on the corner and at one point had the building rotated 180 degrees, which is why 2 signs were painted, one on each side. And I guess rotating buildings was just a common practice in that day. Seems kind of crazy at this point. Here we are after the signs were removed and loaded onto the truck. We managed to successfully save the signs before the building was demolished. We are very thankful to be able to preserve this little slice of history. We could not have done it without support from the community and support from the American Sign Museum. So we are extremely thankful to everyone that backed this effort and gave us their time, energy, and donations. What we learned while working to preserve the signs is that Ward's Bread sign was painted by Jack Briggs. Here Kelsey is with his signature after it was removed. Jack Briggs was one of the founders of a sign company in Chicago called Beverly Sign Co. Beverly Sign Co. was considered an important and influential sign company that employed some of the best sign designers and painters of its time. Discovering that he just happened to have not only painted the sign, but also signed it with his name was quite remarkable and led us to uncovering much more about the Beverly Sign Company.
Specifically, it led us to rediscovering the lost Beverly sketches. These were a collection of original sketches from Beverly Sign Co. that were saved from the garbage by a quick-thinking young journeyman sign painter. The story goes he was told by his boss to throw a box of sketches in the trash, and instead of following the orders, he asked if he could keep them. He was told, "I don't care what you do with them, just get them out of the building." As the sign preservation was taking place, we were approached by local sign painter Bob Bohonik, who first inquired about the Briggs signature. What we came to learn is that Bob was the current caretaker of this collection of sketches. Bob's mentor, Ken Millar, worked for Beverly Sign Co. and was instrumental in helping create the quintessential Chicago look, which made Beverly so well known, especially amongst other sign painters. It had always been Ken's dream to compile the sketches into a book, but he was turned down time and time again as sign painting took a downturn in the 90s and early 2000s with the mass adoption of vinyl graphics. Bob asked if we would be interested in making the book, and after looking at the sketches, we were fully on board. Just as with saving the signs, we had zero experience, but the sheer will and determination to make this happen. So having no real idea of what we were doing or where to start, we just started out by learning more about the company and the people behind the designs and the signs. This is Beverly Sign Co., based on the south side of Chicago, and it was in operation from when Jack Briggs started it in 1938 to approximately 1984. As we mentioned, started by Jack Briggs, Beverly Sign Co. was one of a large number of sign painting companies that existed in the Chicago area during that time period. Beverly specialized in hand-painted signs and large-scale outdoor advertising. Their slogan was "Creators and designers of better signs at no extra cost." This was a testament to the focus of good design within the firm. Jack Briggs, a talented artist himself, understood that in order to stand out amongst all of his competitors, he needed to have not only the best sign painters, but also the best sign designers on his team, and he worked diligently to recruit the top people. As Chicagoland underwent a real estate boom, Beverly worked with a variety of businesses. They had a team of sign designers as well as teams of sign painters, also known as wall dogs, who would execute the sign sketches on site. The sign Andrew is holding on the right is a recent find of an original Beverly Sign Co. sign that we were lucky to find and add to our collection. One of the most difficult elements of researching Beverly Sign Co. and this history is that almost nearly all of the original signs painted by Beverly are now gone, and only a few sketches are what remain. What once was so prominent and plentiful are now just a few faint remnants on walls across the city. There are many photographers who documented Chicago's ghost signs over the years, but it can be difficult to authenticate the sign company responsible if the signature is illegible or missing. One of the lead designers at Beverly, as we mentioned, was Ken Millar, who is often considered the godfather of the Chicago look. Ken also went on to teach and mentor some of the best sign painters in Chicago and beyond, including Bob Bohonik and Noel Weber. Ken's sketches are included in the book, along with fellow designers Clyde Sellers and Mike Borda. This team was at the top of their game while working at Beverly Sign Co. and are considered some of the best designers of their time.
An important part of what made their work special and what distinguished the Chicago look was their creative and fun approach to sign design. It can be difficult to define this term, but for us, while looking through the sketches and hearing the stories from the people who were there, it seems clear that they made an effort to make signs fun. One story that was shared with us was that when they were coming up with ideas for shapes, they would tape a bunch of shapes onto a wall and then throw a dart over their shoulder at the wall. Whichever shape the dart hit, that's the shape they would use. Their methods were unconventional, and that's what made them stand out. This style spread throughout the country and was seen throughout mid-century sign design from LA to Chicago to Florida. Sign painters would come and work at Beverly to learn under the best, and then move on to other parts of the country to start their own businesses, utilizing the fun approach that they learned in Chicago. Early billboards started with circus posters using printed type. Large-scale circus posters are considered the precursor to billboards. Once advertising space was commodified and allowed to be purchased in the 1890s, billboards became a standard sight across America. At this early point, the design was based on the use of scale to emphasize importance, and they often used catchphrases to grab people's attention. Painted billboards became common as it was cost-effective to paint rather than print, especially at a large scale. Painted signs would fill the streets, and billboards were a big part of this visual landscape. Most of the people consuming this media were walking in crowded city centers, so the design was made with that in mind. Packaging design, mascots, and catchphrases were commonly used as the cities expanded. So did the proliferation of billboards. Much like today, with our cell phones, consumer attention was valuable, and sign companies were competitive and learned the best way to stand out in a sea of early advertising. A post-war boom led companies to further embrace this advertising medium. Billboards were big business, and they were everywhere. Two significant changes took place in how these signs were designed after the war: the proliferation of affordable automobiles and the color television. Now, What once was read slowly as you walked by had to be read in seconds as you drove past. Beverly Sign Co. and other companies would do case studies on the distance from which a driver could see a billboard and how much time they had to read it. Eventually, the amount of information on the billboard became condensed because they had to catch the consumer's attention fast and get the point across in only a few seconds or less. Color choice was important, and the advertising was bright and bold. Consumer culture was expanding, and the most captivating advertisement meant more success for the company being advertised.
What the designers developed at Beverly was unique and attention-grabbing. They created a design concept called panelization, where the use of colored panel shapes is utilized to create emphasis within the composition. Here we can see the bold red rectangle dominates the layout, and the use of color blocking divides the remaining information, location, and services. The black oval at the bottom indicates the hours. Think about where your eye goes first and how that is emphasized by shapes and colors. There was a methodology behind this type of layout, and Beverly was the originator of this approach to hand-painted signs. This sketch also shows the panelization technique. The dark blue panel highlights the business name, Eagle Hardware, and the other lettering falls back to be read second. Again, they used a smaller red oval to show the hours. They used bright and contrasting colors. They were often simple combinations of color, but very effective and intentional. The color strike-through would be painted in to show the color of the design, but they would only colorize a small part for both efficiency and for ease with corrections. These sketches would be shown to the client, sold, and then handed over to the wall dogs, who then would paint it using the sketch as a guide. This is one of my favorite sketches. I love how simple and effective it is. The brown shape in the center shows the name of the business, and the lettering on the side provides more information, but is secondary to the brown and red panels. Both block and casual lettering styles are used effectively to allow you to read the information in a quick and orderly manner. It is evident they were pushing the envelope and also having fun, breaking out of conventional design molds. This design really exemplifies this idea. Can you just imagine this being painted as a big billboard and how striking that would be? It just really makes you want to cruise around in a brand new Pontiac. The Chicago style was also exemplified through the use of different letter styles, typically a script and a block letter. Using different letter styles helped grab attention throughout the layout and place emphasis where they wanted to catch the viewer's attention. These designers were really masters of lettering. They took concepts and quickly created designs to sell to business owners and companies. When we first saw these sketches, we knew it would be important to print them so that others can experience the physicality of the sketches the way they were initially intended to be viewed. We appreciated the edits and the mistakes seen in the sketches, the areas where the client crossed out words, or the thumbprints from the wall dogs, as all of these tell the story of the signs. These sketches were never meant to be seen as anything but a quick concept, but for us, they are works of art that show the skill of these designers, and they tell the story of an industry that was almost wiped out by ever-changing technology.
Ken Millar always said, "This direction in design was meant to evoke emotion from the viewer. It's intended to be playful, and Ken was a trickster who liked to have fun. The colors are exciting, and it grabs your attention regardless of the context of the ad." Here, even real estate is eye-catching. Compare this to the real estate billboards of today, and it will make you wonder why we ever adopted the print technologies and traded out old for the new. These sketches not only showed a new perspective into sign design during the 60s through the 80s, but it also told the story of the South Side of Chicago and the neighborhoods and small businesses that worked with Beverly Sign Co. We really enjoy watching people flip through the book and noticing places that they would go, where they bought their first car, where they went on their first date. Signs are emotional and sentimental. What we have learned is that this book tells people's personal stories as much as it tells the story of Jack Briggs and the designers at Beverly Signs. Signs are important to us all, and this is one of the messages we felt was important to convey. To make this book, we gathered all of these original sketches, hundreds of them, scanned them, and compiled them by subject to make the contents of the golden era of sign design. And the next slide is our collaborator and mentor, Bob Bohonik, in his own words, describing why he believes the book is so important.
I was 11 years old and I started building model cars and I could never find the right decals that fit my liking. So I went and bought some brushes and I got some paint and that's how it started. I started off as a sign painter working in a sign business back in the 60s. Chicago here has a huge outdoor advertising genre. They're everywhere. You drive down the street, you see somebody's sign, it has to be read in 2 seconds or less. They did everything to look readable, cool, and clear. And the artists here in Chicago were masters of it. It's emotional. You're connecting with other people through that design. The Chicago look was probably the best exemplified by the Beverly Sign Company and the artists that worked there. Well, the inspirations were going crazy, watching one another work. And before you know it, the whole world knew about Beverly Sign Company. All these billboards were everywhere. Wall jobs were everywhere. They thought, this is going to last forever. I'm going to see this for the rest of my life. And then all of a sudden the vinyl came along. We lost a lot of emotion in advertisement. And it kind of took all the different people that were doing this by hand. They either retired, got out of the business, everything got lost. I mean, no one even knew that signs had been done by hand at one time. Fast forward another 20 years or so, I get this call from Danny Collier, said, you know those signs I rescued from the Beverly Sign Company back in the 70s or the 80s? Do you want them? I says, what's your address? I'll be right over. I brought them home and I was shaking. I was literally shaking. I saw a history of the Chicago's golden era of sign design right in front of my eyes, right in my house. I knew I had to figure out some way of preserving this and moving it on to the next generation. These sketches need to be seen by other people. This generation that's painting signs, they've never seen it before. This is 60, 70 years ago. My goodness, it's like the Holy Grail. The inspirations are endless.
We were very intentional with making the book with a hardbound cover and a specific size. We were referencing the sign books that were published during the early 1900s right here in Chicago on Printers Row. Our book includes 4 double gatefolds, and our intention was to give the reader to look through the sketches as if they were originals in front of them. We also have included interviews with former Beverly employees as well as community members who work directly with Beverly. Because we had never made a book, we learned that we needed a publisher when we purchased ISBN numbers. And so we started an indie publishing business dedicated to sign painting and lettering called Heavy Pages Press. Our hope is to continue making books on the subject and sharing stories from the trade that may be overlooked or lost to time. So far, the public response has been wonderful. Bill Swislow interviewed us for the Spring 2025 SCA Journal. What was great about meeting Bill was that he had his own pictures of signs in Chicago that he had been documenting for years. And due to this, we were able to determine the King of Tile signs were done by Beverly Sign Co., which we have the sketches of in the book. As we mentioned earlier, sign painters would come to Chicago to train under the sign painters at Beverly and move on to open their own sign companies around the country, effectively spreading the Chicago look from coast to coast. For Blag magazine, we researched the unique connection between Chicago and LA via Beverly alumni Heath and Gorsuch, who were known for incredible mid-century design in Los Angeles. It's interesting to see their fun design approach used in a new landscape miles from where it started.
Another result of the book and the response to it has been connecting with former Beverly employees through their family members. These photos came from the grandson of Roger Zimmer, who worked for Beverly Sign Co. as well as other local sign companies, painting billboards until his retirement in the late 90s. Here is his father with his grandfather helping coat out a wall during summer break, very much a family business, and his father as a young boy playing near the Beverly sign truck. Finding stories like these and photographs like these are amazing and something we are happy to share and document. For many of these families, their fathers or grandfathers' stories are part of an American history that is largely overlooked. Once vinyl graphics came, these painters fell into obscurity, and their skills and knowledge left with them. Other families of Chicago sign painters have reached out to us as well after learning about the book, which has been an unintended consequence that we're very grateful for. Here is a Beverly sign that they shared with us that we had never seen prior to writing the book. We hope more pictures surface and more stories come to light so we can document and archive them as well. We were fortunate to be asked by Field Notes to design their spring edition in tandem with the book release. This opportunity was special and introduced us to an entirely new audience. Hearing feedback from different communities has been helpful and at times nerve-wracking, but ultimately the process has been rewarding and allowed us to document our trade and share it with so many different types of people. So here are two men we interviewed for the book. On the left is John Stallworth, and on the right is Danny Collier. John is holding the sketch that was made for his business in 1975. John owns a hardware store on the south side of Chicago, and what we learned is one of the few businesses from the sketches that is still in operation. He has a truly inspiring story that helped us put in context the experience of living in Chicago during that very dynamic time. Danny on the right worked for Beverly, and he is the young journeyman sign painter who saved the sketches from the trash. Getting the chance to connect and tell the story of both of these men, both in their early 80s, was one of the most rewarding parts of this journey. So this is a picture of Ken Millar and Bob Bohonik. Unfortunately, Ken Millar passed before we had completed the book. However, he did know that we were making the book, and Bob was able to tell him we were in the process of making it shortly before he passed. We could feel the frustration he and Bob had felt for years, trying to have anyone care about these sketches and wanting someone to help them make the book. Seeing Ken's dream through was an emotional experience for the community of sign painters that were taught by him and understood his genius. His daughter received the book just before the holidays, and his whole family was thrilled, which we included a small message that we got from them. We feel good knowing that the book would be made and that his legacy would continue to inspire future sign painters and designers. So what is next? Despite the many challenges of self-publishing, surprisingly, we were not discouraged and we managed to fall into a new project. We're currently working on a book about stock car racing. It was inspired by the stories of the Beverly sign painters that we met, whose true passion we would learn while interviewing them for the Beverly book was racing and painting stock cars. As we were peppering them with questions about sign painting in Chicago from the 1950s up to now, all they wanted to do was talk about how they would wrap up work at Beverly and go home to letter stock cars that they would then race on the weekend. It was clear at that point that we had found another fascinating story to document, featuring a facet of Chicago's rich sign painting history. Somehow the best sign painters in the region were all passionate about racing, and that crossover led to an elevated car design that is said to have influenced the design of NASCAR to this day. Similar to the Beverly story, so much of this history was lost, despite the sheer determination of a handful of sign painters whose life passion was racing and sign painting. Researching this has been an eye-opening experience, and we're excited to release this book early next year. And then, because we are not busy enough, we've started another ambitious project called the Chicago Sign Museum and Archive. This was inspired by, in part, by the many stories and family histories that were shared with us after the book came out, as well as our own experience working in the city for the past decade plus. We've noticed a considerable number of signs beginning to disappear and decided to try to do something about it. So at the end of the summer this year, we started to give sign tours in the Chicago Loop. Our tagline is that the city is our museum, and the intention is to keep the remaining signs in place for the public to enjoy and learn from. However, if we can find a space in the near future, that would be a long-term goal to house our own collection and library, as well as the collection of many passionate sign collectors who are in the area. Part of this initiative is to also restore the signs that are still out on the streets, like the famed central camera sign that we saw in the last slide. Unfortunately, that sign hasn't been working since 2020. So with the proceeds from our tour, we have made this lovely map of neon signs in the city, and we are selling these to raise awareness and funds for future projects, such as helping restoring the signs and building a website and creating a more extensive map of Chicagoland signs. Just as a little nudge, it makes for a great Christmas gift for any sign or neon lover. So where can you find us? Here are all of our places that we use to connect with the public. So Heavy Pages Press, as we mentioned, is our indie publishing project with our website and our Instagram, also our Instagram for our personal business and the Chicago Sign Museum. We did create a discount code for everyone here if they are interested in purchasing a book, and we can share that with Brian. We kind of did it as a last minute thank you. So if anybody's interested, please reach out and we're happy to share that with you. What?
And you can buy the book at heavypagespress.com.
So thank you all. I think we made it to 40, maybe we might be a little short, but thank you all so much. We're really glad to have the opportunity to share with you, and we really want to thank Brian and all of SCA for inviting us. It's great to connect with this community of people who are just as passionate about the subject as we are, and we are excited to hear your questions.
Well, thank you so much, Kelsey and Andrew. That was an amazing presentation, most enjoyable and very, very interesting. Now, if there is a discount code, if you give it to, you can just email it to me, and then I can email it to everybody that watched the presentation tonight. And then if they want to order a book from you, then they'll have the code, and we can do that. But the book looks really, really interesting. You are. I love your line, Kelsey, as if we're not busy enough. We decided to take on another little project, sign museum. These things, they don't really take that much effort. It's quite amazing. You guys are doing a great service to the sign community and also the whole roadside community. Now I have a question, and we have some questions here. Where we're at. So Gretchen Steinberg says, when and to what extent did the Beverly, sorry, that's the next person. Gretchen says that the Heath Gorsuch connection in LA is fascinating. Says any additional information or follow-up intended, and also I love the map. So the question was any additional information or follow-up for the Heath Gorsuch connection in LA.
So Tony Heath and Wayne Gorsuch both worked at Beverly for some time, and they worked under Ken, and then they moved to LA and started their own business. And we'd like to do a little bit more research, but I know that they produced a number of remarkable signs that I'm sure anyone in LA would recognize, especially anybody that studies mid-century sign design. But what we know is that they worked for Beverly and then left and then started the company out there. There's a few other people that did and went to Florida as well, all kind of carrying that experience and knowledge of sign design with them.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. Now I had a question for you too. I was just intrigued, or just really wondering that. So at the very beginning, the signs were, or the company was called Briggs Sign Company, and the gentleman in your book is Mr. Briggs, right? And then, but then he started Beverly Sign Company, or so what? Why was the first company called Briggs? Was that his company as well?
That was his company. So that existed before Beverly, and he just named it after himself.
Right.
And another fascinating little facet is on the other side. So Briggs painted the bread sign, and on the other side, the shell sign was painted by his son-in-law, right? Or is it his son?
The shell sign?
Yeah.
I think, no, I think he painted the bread sign with his son-in-law.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, that was right. Because the shell sign was painted much earlier.
Got it.
Yeah.
So he would then go on to start the Beverly Sign Co. just a handful of years later, like 2 years after that bread sign was painted, he started Beverly Sign Co.
Okay, so who's Beverly? Well, how did he name? Why did he name it Beverly?
Beverly is the name of a neighborhood on the south side of Chicago where the business was located.
Okay, all right, good. And then what happened to Briggs? Did he just fold that company, or it went on with under different ownership or something?
Yeah.
I think it just folded into Beverly.
Oh, I see. Okay, all
He
right.
eventually sell it and then moved to Florida, but it continued to go on.
Okay.
Beverly.
Yeah.
Beverly did, yes. Okay, all right, very interesting. Now, Allison Baker says, when and to what extent did Beverly Company design neon signs? You mentioned neon towards the end, and she's also would like to know more about the influence of Beverly on other sign companies. Like, were there other competitors that you ran into in your research? So, two questions there. First of all, were they involved, and what was the involvement with neon, and how did they influence their competitors?
From what we know, they didn't do neon. And there are no neon sketches. I think it would have been sort of a specialized area that other sign companies would pick up. They were known for specifically bulletin painting, which would be like considered billboard painting, or wall paint, just simple sign painting.
Also storefronts.
And we did find a couple storefront sketches. So they would design like the signs for a storefront, but no, from what we saw in these particular sketches, we didn't find any neon. But there are a number of fantastic neon producers in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, they had many competitors. General Outdoor was a huge competitor at the time. So comparatively, Beverly was quite small. I think what made them so special, maybe because they were small, they were able to be more creative, push the boundaries a little bit, and ultimately the sign painters that they employed were just incredibly talented, and they had the freedom to produce really unique design work.
Yeah, well, there's no question about that. Allison Baker asks, did billboard sign painting influence print ads as well, for example, magazines?
I would have to imagine that it did, and vice versa. I think, at the early 1900s, magazines were certainly being produced. They were a bit more rudimentary than they were by perhaps the 90s or 80s and their 70s in the heyday of them. But I think there was quite a bit of crossover between the two styles. And so I would say that, yes, they were certainly influencing back and forth. Obviously, the way in which you interact with a billboard and the way in which you interact with a printed ad are going to be quite different. So I think there's inherently a separation there, but I would say stylistically, they definitely were kind of playing off of each other.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I was really well. Here's I was interested in the fact you made the comment that not a single sign that you have the drawings for, the sketches, has survived. And I noticed when you were showing some of the sketches, they have addresses on them as to where that sign was to be painted. So I'm assuming you went around to each one of those places to look, and there's nothing there, right?
We sure did. And very often, not only is there no sign there, that the entire building is gone. Or the entire location has completely changed. And so there's not even a shred of evidence. And there's only one example that we have a suspicion that the sign may be there. And it's in the book, and it's called Fondue Stube. And it's an interesting name. It just happens to be blocks away from where our shop is currently on the north side of Chicago. And the business is still open, or maybe the business isn't open, but there is still some signs there. And now there is a printed large billboard attached to the side of the building. And underneath it, you can see the handle of the fondue pot sticking out. And so we're pretty sure that's the sign. You can't see the Beverly plaque. You can't see anything else, but we're pretty sure that it exists underneath this printed advertisement, but you can't actually see it except for just the tip of the handle.
Okay, so there's hope. There's hope that there's one out there somewhere.
Yeah, and we did recently find on the south side, a building came down, and then a sign of a contemporary to Beverly was exposed. So sometimes that happens. It's few and far between, but usually it's in areas that aren't as developed, and people have kind of left the buildings alone,
Mhm.
That company's name is Sealander and Swanson, and it's a wonderful sign. We've posted it on our social media, and you can absolutely see the similarities to Beverly and how they were definitely playing off of each other.
Okay. Now, your firm, Heart and Bones. So I mean, I don't know where you find time to work, but what does your company do? Are you sign painters as well?
Yes, we are. That's our full-time job. We are making signs pretty much 7 days a week. We specialize in reverse glass gold leaf signs, but we make all kinds of painted signs. But we stay quite busy with the reverse glass gold leaf work in Chicago, and we travel all around the United States making gold leaf signs.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I love those signs. If you go into any old office building and you see the gold leaf signs, Mr. or Dr. Jones or Mr. Smith attorney, those
Totally.
signs are so wonderful. They're so evocative. It's just great. I love it. anyways, there's a ton of comments on the in the comments section, which I will send to you. And
Okay.
oh, this is just somebody's Bill Swislow just posted a picture of the fondue stub sign. Notice the handle sticking out on the left. So it's in the comments, and so everybody is able to see it there. Now I will be sending these comments through to you.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. And you'll be able to see all the comments. There's a lot of comments about your presentation tonight, and the interest that people have taken in it, which was really really quite amazing. And I will also say that Bill has posted a comment saying, where is he here? He says, oh, I got to go up a little bit. Oh, I highly recommend the book. We usually only see the end results. This book shows how the sausage is made. Sometimes we don't want to know how the sausage is made, but in this case, it's pretty interesting. So I'll be sending all these through to you, so you'll be able to see them as well. Now,
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that.
and I might say also too that Bill Swislow, who's on the board of the SCA, was the one who recommended Andrew and Kelsey to us to make this presentation. So thank you very much, Bill, for doing that, because it's really been a very enjoyable presentation. Now, just before we go, I just want to remind everybody about next month, when on Wednesday, December the 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, Evan Stern will combine personal reflections with select footage from a few of the people who met along this journey to explore how the Mother Roads past, present, and future are revealed through the people who live and work along it today. SCA members will be receiving the relevant details and registration link for the December talk by email, and others can register through the SCA website directly. Now, thank you again, Andrew and Kelsey, for spending some time with us. If you're not a member, if any audience person is not a member, you can expect an email shortly inviting you to join the SCA and enjoy all the members of membership. All the benefits of membership. And of course, tonight's presentation will be available. Usually it's online tomorrow morning on the SCA's website, and it's free for all. So anybody that missed the meeting tonight and would like to see it has a chance to do so starting tomorrow morning. So tell your friends and relatives and colleagues all about it. Any last words for us, Andrew and Kelsey?
Thank you. And we're happy to have this opportunity, and we're now members, so we're really excited to
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's
be
great.
part of the community. Really appreciate you guys inviting us.
Well, thank you so much for all the good work you're doing in Chicago. It's absolutely fascinating, and good luck with your next book too. Maybe when the next book is ready, we'll be able to have another presentation.
Thank you. That's great.
Let's do it.
All right, with that, then I'll thank you again for it, and thank all our viewers for spending some time with us this evening. And I look forward to seeing everybody next month, same time, same place. And I wish you all a good night.